what I have for you today is somebody made this request on the Facebook group about making a cheerleading megaphone similar to the football on the Cuttle site. So I think what they're referring to is these on the template section of Cuttle. We have this subcategory called sports, and there are these kind of bag tags, and they can be made into keychains perhaps, that have a number of kind of like school themes, sports theme stuff. So, there's a basketball, a volleyball, soccer, football, and there's a cheerleading bow tag, but they were asking for a megaphone. And so I was looking at the structure of these, and they're quite similar. Like if we open it in the Cuttle editor, to kind of look at the structure. So they usually have a preview, and they have the name separated as a component, and then they have the backer separated as a component, and they have a backer design. So that's like, one way to look at the structure of that. And let me go back and open another one. For example, this baseball. I'm gonna open it just to kind of review the structure. This one is even simpler. It just has the backer and the front, and then it has like a cut component. So I think I'm gonna try. I mean, one option would be to like grab one of these, for example, the the bow, and maybe even like change the design of the backer here, and that would like kind of use all the things that we have already, like all these parameters that I created, and so that would be one way to do it. That would be kind of like remixing one of these. But I decided I think I want to like kind of build it from scratch, so we can like see how it's built. So let's do that. So the idea is a megaphone. So I want to do a quick search for cheerleading megaphones to kind of get a sense for the shape. So yeah, they tend to be these like kind of large cones. And let's take a look at the images here. Maybe I can look at the silhouette. So I think one option would be to like grab one of these images and kind of trace it, but I think I'm gonna do it from scratch, because what I see is that in general they're like a sort of trapezoid shape with sort of curved edges, or like a curve. Even this one I kind of like this one. I like this design. It looks like a simple trapezoid with like some kind of pill designs and then a handle. I think I could do better with the handle. Okay, so let's start with that. So I have a blank project here. I just gave it a name. I called it the Cheerleading Megaphone. And so I'm just going to start with the overall design and the size of it. And so I guess I'm going to call this first component the megaphone. And the shape I want to base it on is a trapezoid. So I could browse the shapes over here, and I click on it. And there are basic shapes. I can click on more. There are a bunch of shapes here to grab. And the one I'm looking for is this one down here, the trapezoid. Let me bring it up here. So this one. Trapezoids, I'm going to grab it and put it on my the center of this canvas. And let's rotate it. I'm going to hold shift so while I rotate, so I get those kind of increments. So I just want a 90-degree shift. And here I want to just kind of start with the overall size of the design. I think most of these, let me look at this one for reference. The kind of the base size of this one is about 3 3/4 inches. Actually, let's look at the size of one of these. This one is fairly big. I mean, sorry, this one is about 3.5 inches. So yeah, so I want to kind of do something along those lines. So I'm just going to move it over here, and I'm going to size it. So let's say 3.5 inches. That makes the cone a little bit flat. So let's try like 2 inches here. And I think that looks about right. I'm gonna just move it. I want the origin to be like right here because I wanna be able to write the name. And I'm gonna do these. I want to create the shape by doing that kind of very visual way of doing it, where I just kind of create filled shapes and then add them together. So I'm gonna add a fill to this one. It's gonna make it red so it's very clear. And now I would like to add like a little sort of mouthpiece. And for that, I'm gonna use this pill shape. I think the pill is essentially like a rounded rectangle, but it's kind of ready to go. So I'm just gonna grab it and place it here. Now rotate it once again. I'm gonna hold Shift to get that kind of constrained rotation. And I want that a little bit smaller. Probably just gonna do it from the side so I get a sense for, yeah, something like that. And I want it to kind of stick out a little bit past the trapezoid. So that's good. Let's give it a fill as well. Then I want to have something similar here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to grab a pill again, place it right there, rotate it. Let's give it a fill right away. And I'm going to just increase the size from here. I'm going to scale it up. The only reason I'm doing it that way is so the origin just stays right in place right there. So I think something like that. The one a bit shorter, yeah. Rough megaphone shape. And then the last thing I want to add is that the handle, if I look at like most of these have a handle. It's kind of prominent. I don't love the shape of this one. I think the kind of rounded one looks better. So I think I'm gonna add like a sort of rounded handle. And for that, I'm gonna use this. There is a lines and curves category. Where is that? Shapes, lines and curves. And there's this arc from 3 points. So I'm just gonna grab that one, put it roughly there. And with the 3-point arc, you kind of move these points and place it. I'm just gonna click in on the point. I'm not being like super precise. I'm just looking at see how it looks. And then I actually want this as a default as a hairline. So I'm gonna uncheck the hairline. I'm gonna also make it red, and I'm gonna make it thicker. So that's I guess I'm going for a sort of cartoony megaphone. Cool. So this is my rough shape. I can see that it looks, it visually looks like the shape that I want. Everything is red. So to join everything that is red, I'm going to use that modifier called flatten. So I'm going to select everything and then go to modify and apply the flatten. So what that one does is that it takes everything that is the same color and then it joins it together into the same shape. To make it clear, I can click on this stroke result. And so you can see I ended up with the kind of roughly the shape that I wanted. Maybe a quick slight refinement that I can do is that I kind of like this is a little pointy. I'm going to apply the round corners to the shape as is. To just kind of soften those corners. I think it kind of gives it a nice look. I think that it kind of rounded this section and then rounded this a little bit. So I think that's so let's see. So that's my megaphone. And if I look at the structure of the other ones, you usually have like a back, then we have a front with a name. And so what I want to do now is create the name part. And so I'm going to create another component. Maybe I'll call it the name. And I want to use the shape that I just created sort of as a guide. So I'm going to place it here, just at the origin. And to use any shape as a guide, you can always go here to the right-hand side and then click this option that says Show Guides. And then it turns into Show Shapes as Guides. So what that does is that this shape I can use for my kind of construction geometry, but it's not gonna show up when I cut it. The reason I wanted to do that is that I wanted to use it to like create my name. If I look, let's see, let's look at other images of cheerleading microphones, megaphones. I'm sorry. Like I think this looks kind of like the sort of prototypical font for that kind of high school. And so I'm gonna look for I'm gonna browse all shapes. There's an option here called warp text. So I'm gonna see more. And so there are all these options to create this warp text that already has kind of like a high school looking font. So one possible option is to use this one that looks like a banner. So if I place the banner right there, this could just work, because with this banner, what I can do is I can change the scale, and then I can change the kind of location of the top left and the bottom left. So let's see. I remember my trapezoid was 3.5 by 2. And the top left and the bottom left could be something like that. So this is an option. This kind of like vibes with your it could work. The reason I'm saying that it could work is that I actually kind of like the just plain custom text over here, because I don't have to like adjust these so numerically. I could do it more visually. I just wanted to show you both options. I'm gonna delete this one, and then I'm gonna grab this one down here that says custom, and I'm gonna place it where I want it. And this one operates a little bit different, because with this one I double click into the shape and I get to adjust the corners. So it's a bit more visual. I think it works a little bit better for me in this case. But actually, before I continue, like I'm seeing that I want to kind of place these corners kind of strategically, and I want to create a guide for myself so I can place those a little bit better. So I'm gonna go back to that megaphone shape, and if you remember the way we constructed it, it has this like trapezoid shape. I'm gonna kind of extract it. I'm gonna duplicate it by clicking right clicking on it. So then I have this trapezoid shape, and I'm gonna pull it out of the group where it belongs, the group that I flattened, and let's make a different fill, or no fill, that is. I can uncheck that. So as you can see, I just kind of pulled out that trapezoid, and I want it to be like kind of inset a little bit to work as a guide for me. So I'm gonna select that one. Then there is this contract or inset, yeah. So this way I have a sort of guide to place my text. And if I go back to the name component that I created, now I can see it back there. It's kind of is working as the guide for where I can place the corners. So this is looking the way I kind of want it. So I'm gonna double click on it. And so now I can grab the anchors of the corner. And if I have these geometry snapping enabled, they are just gonna snap onto the corner like that. So let's do each one of the corners, and here and here. And then the beauty of these text in particular is that, now I can type anything here, like someone's name, and then it's just gonna adapt to it. I don't see myself doing this kind of thing, but I could try my name. Yeah. Let's go back to. I also think that they're usually uppercase. So let's try uppercase. Let's go back to that. And then what I want is to be able to change the text whenever I want without like having to kind of dig all these into the components and whatnot. So I'm going to extract the text as a parameter. So here's the warp text. I can go to these three dots, click extract as parameter, which places it there. Maybe I'll call it the name. It doesn't have to be uppercase. And then I want that to apply to kind of project-wide, meaning it's going to apply to any instance of the name that I use. So I'm going to click on the three dots and say make it move parameter to project. Now wherever I'm looking, I will always see that name. And then wherever I am, I can also just change the name right there. Cool. So now that I kind of figure out the name, I can kind of try and do the rest of the structure. So I need the front, I need the back, and I need some sort of preview. Actually, one little detail. So yeah, what do I do first? Let's start with the front. No, sorry. What I want to do is, if I were to cut this name as is, I'm going to create a cut file here, a cut component. If I were to cut it as is, I think I would get the megaphone to be cut, and then I would cut the name separately, because then I want to be able to place these letters onto here. But if I were to cut these letters as they are, then they would come up as like separate letters, and I would have to kind of glue them individually, which can probably get a little bit tedious. And so I want to do a slight adjustment to get them to cut as a single piece. And so that's what I'm going to do here. So now that I have the name here, I can actually hide these guides. But as you saw, the guides don't show up when I place the name like so. But they show up right here as guides. But what I want to do is make it so all the letters are joined together. And in this case, I'm not going to use the connected text, which would probably work better. But since we're using uppercase, then I'm not worried too much about the dots on the I's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the letter spacing. So I'm going to kind of smush the letters together a little bit, kind of overlap it. But then they end up being hard to read. So let's change it to red. So the trick I'm going to use is I'm going to apply the weld and score modifier. So what this does effectively is that let me hide the megaphone, is that now this is a single shape. And so it will cut as a single shape, but if I set these to score, then the letters are more readable, hopefully. Yeah, no, they are. So now if I look at my cut, I think that's roughly what I want. I want to be able to cut these and separately from the megaphone, and I probably don't want this guide in the middle, so I'm just gonna hide it. It's probably useful for doing certain things later, but I'm gonna hide it for now. I just did this really quick here for the cut, but I think there's a slightly nicer way of doing it, which last time I showed it, people were kind of excited about it, so I'm going to use it again. There is this thing called auto layout. If I'm just search for auto over here, and it's right here, it's auto layout, so I can place it right here in the center of the canvas. And the way the auto layout works is that you can grab any of the components you've created, and they will be kind of placed right there, regardless of their size or their look. So the way I kind of get to place my megaphone and my name over here is by there are the pieces here when I select auto layout. So as long as they are inside the brackets, I can simply type my megaphone right there, and then a comma, and then I can type the name right there. I'm just select it from the autofill and press play, and there they are. The cool thing about these is that they will never overlap. There's always going to be a little spacing here that you can move around if you want, And then, as you can see, they all came out as black. So I'm just gonna get rid of the stroke here, so they just kind of retain the stroke properties that I gave them before. One other refinement I want to do is that when I place this name over here, when I'm gluing it, I want to have like some sort of guide to be able to glue it. Like that's the structure of some of these other sports tags, or bag tags. So if I look at these one, you'll see that on the backer we have this option to create this kind of sort of inset score, so it's easier to glue it. So I want to do the same for this project. So I'm actually gonna create one called the backer component, and so that one is gonna have the megaphone shape, is gonna have the name, and I'm just using the origin to sort of align them together. But instead of having the name like it is right here, I want it to be a little bit inset to create a guide. And so yeah, I'm just gonna apply, I think I can just do the Boolean union. So it just turns into a single shape, and I want to contract it a little bit. So I'm gonna apply that contract or inset. You know, that is too much. So I just want to contract it by a small amount. So when I glue my name on it, you can see how the name is a little bit past the sort of guidelines. So it's gonna disappear it. And then I want that to be a score. So I'm gonna change the stroke to blue, just to be consistent with the. And that probably changed my cut component, because instead of just the megaphone, I actually want the component I just called the backer. So I'm gonna change that. So I have my backer, I have my my name. This is, when I send it to the machine, I can just, select run operation for score for all the blue lines. I want to cut for all the red lines. Perhaps one last one I would like to make is, we'll call it the preview. So I'm going to create a new component. I'm once again kind of on the way here. Let me move myself a little bit. Oops, no, that one. So I'm going to create one called the preview. And the preview is going to have the megaphone and the name just kind of placed right on top of it. So when we change things here, yeah. Then we can see what it looks like. Finally, I think, the presentation would be, I want to place it on the README. I want to create, I want to grab the component here. I'm going to grab the preview component. So I got my megaphone. And I want to add another component here, which is the cut. So, and then this little arrow implies that when people hit the download SVG, this is the file that they're going to get. And I think this is like the basic. I think from here you can you can refine it. You can change the shape of the megaphone. We can add a lot of the other little nice to haves that this project has. For example, you can extract the font. So let's do that just as an example. So in the name component, I can go to this font right here, and I can click extract as parameter, which places this font over here, this font choice. And so if I make it as a project parameter, now it appears right here. And so if I go to the README, you can see how now I can choose the font. I don't know what other fonts would be desirable here, because some of those are just going to change the I think the slab one is pretty good. The other thing that occurs to me, refinement-wise, is that maybe you want a place to hang it. Most of these have like a hole, and so I'm not really sure where to place it actually. But I think maybe a hole like over here would do the trick. Let me just look what size hole. There's a hole. So the hole size tends to be about 0.2 inches. Yeah, no, 0.19. Let's go with that. So in order to add the hole, I'm gonna just take advantage of the way I constructed that that megaphone shape, because I was using that flatten modifier. So with flatten, if whatever shape is white is gonna just turn into a hole. So I can create a circle. Let's make it 0.2. Let's give it a white fill, something like that. And let's place it. I'm not entirely sure this is the best spot for it, but let's go with that. And then most importantly, I want that circle to be part of the flatten group. So if I open the group here and then I drag the circle right inside, then you can see how it just punched right through it. And I can just look at the stroke result once again. And let's just look at the preview. I think that would be a functional hole. I mean, I suppose you could always attach it through this handle. All right, cool. So I hope that was like a useful explanation or possibilities for you to like make something like this. Probably do these down here. Let's organize it. Preview, cut, backer. Perhaps the next step with this one might be to create some sort of border or edge to, if you want to create an additional kind of feature, because like the look of this one is just 2 layers with the back, the bow on the back and the name in front. But the others actually, the others have 2 layers too, but the second layer is taking advantage of, let's just look at it. The back layer has some kind of decoration on the back, and then the front layer has the name and a number. I don't know if cheerleaders use numbers. Maybe, I don't know. Pardon the ignorance there, but I didn't add a number on that one. But yeah, I think perhaps the next refinement would be to create, say, a front layer. I mean, that could be the name that has some kind of additional decoration. But maybe if you would like to see that, that could be a subject for the next live stream. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all coming, and I hope you have a nice day. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.